Hinged rings, also known as segment rings. We're going to talk about how to change them and how to remove them coming up next on Body Piercing Basics, episode number 115. So you might want to stick around. For those who are new to the channel, first off, welcome to the channel. Hope you're enjoying the videos. Hope you're finding them edifying, enjoyable, etc. But you may not know who I am, even though I tend to say it on every video. My name is DaVo. I'm a professional body piercer and have been since 1994. I own and I operate the Axiom Body Piercing Studio located right here in Des Moines, Iowa, inside Skin Kitchen Tattoo. So when I talk to you about these things, I'm talking to you with a level of expertise that comes from being in the body piercing industry for well over 27 years. Before I get too far into this, you might notice this little piece of road rash on the side of my face. Yeah, I was a moron. I was going a little too fast on the e-bike and the rain, and yeah, I fell down. It hurt, but I'm okay. I'm okay. Nothing to worry about. Kids, be safe. Wear safety equipment. That's all I'm going to say about it. So today we're going to talk about hinged rings or segment rings. What exactly are those? Those are a ring that has often a lot of different type of designs, charms, and etc. attached to it, but it has a segment that comes out in a hinge, basically, and then locks into place. Often it'll have a little piece, like kind of a little additional wire that goes inside of that closure area to make it as tight as possible. These, originally you would see these a lot in kind of the fashion jewelry industry, more prone towards ear piercings, etc. In about the last decade or so, they've become very popular in the body piercing industry. Originally kind of designed, or probably the most common application of this was the clickers. Clickers are a little different, and I may do a separate video on that, but it's kind of the same thing. The only difference is the area that's actually in the piercing is curved on rings. It also allows them a little bit more freedom as far as getting a tighter fit, better quality, etc. Now, how do they work? Like I said, one side is hinged, the other side has a indentation. Sometimes it's just a small rounded area, often referred to as a nipple. Sometimes it's almost maybe a 2 or 3 millimeter little piece of wire that locks inside the other side. Once they're locked, they are very secure unless you really pull on them. So what are you going to need to basically change these? First off, you're going to need clean hands. Wash them, scrub them, get all those oils off there, and also anything you may came in contact with. It's just good practice. Next off, exam gloves. If you can't find exam gloves, at least make sure that you clean your hands really, really well to get off any oils and etc. It makes it a little easier to grip. Water-based lubricant. Now, this can be any type of water-based lubricant as long as it doesn't have any additives in it. Stay away from anything that's warming gels or flavored or any of that. No. A clean, flat surface. Do set the jewelry and your equipment up on. Generally, the best option, and I say this in pretty much every video we do about this, would be, as far as found items around the house, would be a baking dish or a cookie sheet. Basically, put some saran wrap over it just to kind of give it a protective barrier, right? Yeah. And then a clean paper towel or two on the top so that you can set your jewelry on there. And the nice thing is to have something that has edges on it, kind of walls, so that if it gets jostled or knocked around or slips or falls or what have you, it kind of holds it in place, keeps it from flying all over the place. Or, just sliding off right down into the drain of the sink or wherever you're set up at. Speaking of sinks, if you are doing this in your bathroom, over the bathroom sink, it's always a good idea to kind of put a towel in the sink just as a protective layer so that it doesn't end up going down that drain. Lastly, a possible tool that you may need is mosquito-style hemostats or tweezers. Because this specific style of jewelry is used often in very tight areas like the septum, the date, rooks sometimes, and various other places, nostrils, where it's very difficult to get your hands on the jewelry, it's not a bad idea to have some tools not only to help open the jewelry, but also to just comfortably get it in and out. Just a hint. Before we move on to removing the jewelry, if you find this helpful, useful, or what have you, please give me a thumbs up. Let me know that you liked it, because we like it when you like it. Also, subscribe. Hit that notification bell so that you're notified every single time we post something. Now, how do you remove the jewelry? First thing you want to do is you want to locate where that hinge is at. Usually you can feel a little bit of roughness. Visually, it's a lot easier. You may want to ask a friend to help, but for the most part, you can usually kind of feel where that hinge is and where that seam is. Generally, when jewelry's put in, it's usually put in by the most open side. However, if you have facing gems or whatever on it, that may not be the facing side. That might be the side that's inside or in that tight spot. But a good rule of thumb is, like on an earlobe, it's probably the seam is on the back. The seam is on the back and the hinge is on the front. However, it's always a good idea to kind of feel around and find those. Next, firmly grab the ring itself in that seamed area if you can, if there's enough room. The reason why I want to have you grab both sides and use two hands is we don't want to put any pressure, if we can, on that piercing. We don't want to cause damage to it. So if you can do it without pulling and yanking on the piercing, it's going to be better. So trust me, you don't want to dislodge a piercing tunnel or tear a piercing getting a piece of jewelry out. Next up, you want to just apply outward pressure. The ring will that hinge will kind of pull outward, and you'll sometimes hear a snap as it's releasing its tension. Then, of course, lubricate the jewelry, remove it, and you're done. You've removed a hinged or segment ring. Before we move into how you put them back in, check out our merch store. Link is in the description. Lots of different designs, lots of different colors, lots of different products. Also including the shirt I'm wearing today. I'm Pierce, but I'm not telling you where. To find those, look at the link in the description, follow it, or you can check out the merch bar down below. Now, how do you put it back in? First off, I would suggest taking the tip of the jewelry, putting a little bit of lubricant on the end of it, and then inserting it into the jewelry or into the piercing. Like I said before, it really depends on these facing style, which side goes in. Think that out ahead. I don't know how many times I put one of these in and then realize, the gem's facing downward or backwards. And then I have to take it out and try it from the other side. Nostrils is going to be a little bit tricky. Some cases using like a taper pin to put it in and out or put it in is about your only option. And it might be something that you want to go to your local studio and have the piercer do it. Otherwise, just insert the jewelry into the piercing. Grab the jewelry the same way that you did when you pulled it out. And firmly push it inward, letting that seamed area connect. And sometimes you have to pull kind of slightly outward, but you'll hear it click or snap. That means it's locked. If you don't hear that snap, you haven't got it right. Make sure that you are lining up both sides of that, because on some of them, especially the cheaper ones, they can bend off to the side and get out of alignment a little bit. Now, I mentioned this before, tools. Hemostats are really nice to, especially when you're doing things where you're trying to insert things through the nose, or maybe putting in a Dave piercing or something else. Tweezers or hemostats are going to be helpful because they're small on your fingers, basically. The other advantage to it is it can make it a lot easier to break that hinge and let it open, and avoid putting pressure and causing trauma to the piercing itself. So they're a helpful thing to have. Now, lastly, storage. Everybody wants to throw all this stuff in a one ring, and about, I don't know how many clients I've had come in over the years, and they'll bring in something that's like a Tupperware container full of like 15 pieces of jewelry, or a baggie full of a bunch of it. Don't do that. Jewelry should always be stored by itself and separate, especially hinge jewelry, because you're dealing with a mechanism that is kind of fragile, especially when you're dealing with smaller, thinner gauge jewelry like 18 and 16 gauge. That constant pressure, especially if the jewelry is left open, can actually break it. So First off, always close the jewelry. Make sure that it is in place. Second off, always store it alone, either in a clean baggie or a container of some sort by itself. Don't put other stuff in there because you may not think you're going to jostle it around, but eventually it probably will be. Well, that's all I have to say today about hinged and segment rings. I hope you enjoyed this, found it edifying, etc. If I brought up any questions or you have any hints, please make a comment, or where you can ask a question even about stuff that has absolutely nothing to do with this. Till next time, here's hoping all your piercings heal with ease and without a single issue. And if you're in the Des Moines, Iowa area, I hope to see you for your body piercing needs in the future. Have a good day, everybody. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next video.